The ice on Europa's surface cracked like glass underfoot, sending shards cascading into the abyss below. Dr. Eli Vance squinted against the fierce glare of distant stars, his breath forming clouds of vapor as he scanned the horizon. The peace of the frozen wilderness shattered by the cold wind that howled like a ghost, a warning of what lay beneath. "Are you sure about this, Eli?" called out Hannah, the team's geologist, her voice tinged with doubt. Eli held up his hand. "We have to check it out. This might be the breakthrough we've been waiting for." A glint of metal caught his eye in the distance, shimmering through a layer of ice. They'd set out from the base an hour ago, drawn by the signals pulsing through their equipment. Clear, rhythmic, almost alive. As they trudged closer, the atmosphere shifted. The air seemed to hum with energy. "This can't be natural," Eli murmured, kneeling next to the strange contours in the ice. The crew gathered around, their simple suits glimmering against the otherworldly backdrop. "Look at the shape. It's too symmetrical," observed Malcolm, the engineer, peering over Eli's shoulder. "It's definitely artificial," Eli concluded, heart racing. He ran his gloved fingers along the surface, tracing a pattern that felt like a language he didn't know. "Think of the implications. If we can just retrieve it—" Suddenly, a deep rumble echoed beneath their feet, cutting Eli off. A fissure snaked through the ice, separating them from their vehicle. The earth groaned as another shockwave shook the ground. "Back to the ship!" Hannah yelled, panic rising in her voice. But they were too late. The ice exploded outward, revealing a massive biomechanical figure, streamlined and alien, hurtling upward from the depths. The crew screamed as the creature emerged, a nightmarish blend of sinew and technology, its movements fluid yet powerful. "It's awake!" Malcolm shouted, eyes wide with terror. And then, without warning, their comms fell to static, drowning out their panic. Eli's mind raced, wrestling with the enormity of the moment. What was this thing? Why had it been trapped beneath the ice? The creature turned its gaze on them, alien sensors flaring to life. Eli's heart thudded in his chest as disbelief suffocated any logical thought. In an instant, he felt the weight of choice pressing on him. Stay and face the waking terror, or flee and hope for survival. "Get back!" he cried, his voice swallowed by the chaos. The ground beneath them quaked and split apart, columns of ice crashing down like pillars in a cataclysm. The alien loomed closer, its form both mesmerizing and terrifying. Eli stumbled backward, his breath quickening, ready to make a run for it, when a blinding flash erupted from the creature, illuminating the entire area. Then everything went dark. A deafening silence wrapped around them, and Eli could only stagger in the gloom, the last vestiges of signals flickering away into nothingness. The silence shattered like glass. Dr. Eli Vance gasped, struggling to breathe as he floated in darkness. Panic surged through him, heart racing. "Hannah! Malcolm!" he called, voice swallowed by the void. Slowly, the shimmering outlines of the command module lit up around him. Eli blinked, adjusting to the harsh glow. The crew clung to their stations, faces pale with fear. Hannah was the first to break the stillness, her hands trembling. "What just happened?" "I don't know," Eli said, shaking off the icy grip of dread. "But that thing, whatever it was, might have triggered something." He punched at the control panel, screens flickering back to life. "Look!" shouted Malcolm, pointing at a readout. "The monolith is emitting a gravitational anomaly." Eli's eyes widened. "It's more than just a signal. It's a beacon, He glanced at the view screen. Faint outlines of movement twisted beneath Europa's surface. Something is responding to it. Hannah leaned closer, fear creeping into her voice. What if we're not alone? What if... Before she could finish, alarms blared throughout the module, red lights flashing around them. Eli gripped the console, steadying himself. Focus! We need to make sense of this. Eli pulled up analysis data, fragments of alien language scrolling across the screen. He squinted at the symbols. These don't just resemble letters. They tell a story. What kind of story? Malcolm asked, brow furrowing. About a prison, Eli answered. A place to contain something terrifying. Hannah shook her head. The ice was just a shell. If the monolith actually imprisoned these beings, what happens if they break free? The module shook violently, throwing everyone off balance. It's happening! Eli shouted, scrambling to secure his harness. The ground below cracked in a web-like fracture, freezing air rushing in. We need to get out of here, Malcolm yelled, eyes wide with panic. Eli raced to the viewport, his heart sinking. Emerging from the depths, immense shadows gathered beneath the ice. We need to escape, now! But it was too late. Suddenly, an alien fleet materialized, colossal ships cloaked by Jupiter's shadow. Tendril-like structures unfurled from their hulls, extending towards Europa's surface. Swelling fear washed over Eli, ready to engulf him. Send a transmission to Earth, he barked, adrenaline surging. They had to be warned. Malcolm rushed to relay a message, but static filled their comms. Nothing's getting through, he shouted, fingers scrambling over the controls. Eli's determination hardened. We need to descend into the fractures, find any route to the surface. It might be our only chance. As they prepared for the descent, a cold realization gripped Eli. They weren't just studying alien constructs. They had awakened an ancient threat. Outside, the alien fleet expanded, overshadowing their fragile world. Eli's gaze darted toward the distant horizon, darkened by advancing shadows. Then, behind them, an ominous sound echoed, growing louder. Something massive shifted beneath the surface. The air vibrated with unspoken power. Eli turned, eyes wide with terror, as the cracks spread endlessly across Europa's frozen surface. He barely had time to shout a warning when the world fell apart once again, darkness swallowing them in a crushing abyss. The darkness writhed and pulsed with a life of its own. Eli Vance's heart raced as he clutched the control panel, fear coursing through his veins. "Hannah! Malcolm!" he shouted, voice echoing against the metal confines of the command module. "Eli!" Hannah's voice trembled. The ambient light flickered back to life, illuminating their wide-eyed faces. Malcolm gripped the console, his knuckles white with tension. What the hell just happened? Eli took a deep breath, forcing down the rising tide of panic. "Something beneath the ice," he said, urgency tightening his tone. "Whatever we found, it might have awakened something." Malcolm's gaze shot to the readouts. "Look at this," he said. "The monolith is emitting a constant gravitational anomaly." Eli's heart sank. No, it's not just a signal. It's a beacon. Something is coming for us. Hannah pressed closer, eyes darting between the screens. "What are we dealing with? Is it alive?" The module lurched violently, alarms ringing in their ears. Eli barely managed to keep his composure. "We need to stay focused. Get the data up." As he scrambled for the analysis console, Alien symbols scrolled across the screen. "What language is this?" Malcolm asked, brow furrowed in confusion. "Not just language," Eli replied, his voice low. "It's a history, a warning. They're talking about a prison." "A prison?" Hannah echoed, fear creeping into her voice. "What if they're trying to break free?" Before Eli could respond, the ice beneath them cracked, a chilling roar echoing through the metal walls. Entities stirred in the depths below, enormous shadows shifting against the cold expanse of Europa. "We need to escape!" he shouted, adrenaline surging through him. "I'm on it!" Malcolm yelled, working the controls frantically. "We have to send a transmission to Earth." Eli turned his attention outside the viewport. Colossal ships loomed into view, masked under the shadow of Jupiter. Tendril-like structures unfurled from their hulls, creeping towards Europa's surface. An icy chill settled in Eli's gut. "They're deploying something," he muttered. "What? Can't we warn them?" Malcolm shouted, desperate eyes glued to his screen. Static filled the comms as they tried to relay the urgent message. "Nothing's going through!" Malcolm exclaimed, his fingers racing over buttons. "This isn't good." Hannah gasped, her face paling. "If we don't get out of here, they'll find us." Eli's mind raced. "We need to descend, into the fissures. It's our only chance." Determination ignited in him, a flicker against the chaos. He had to lead, had to keep them safe. They strapped into their harnesses, but before they could launch, a monstrous sound echoed from below, reverberating through the ice like the growl of a sleeping beast. "Get us out of here!" Eli shouted, dread flooding his voice. As they descended, the temperature dipped even further. Bioluminescent creatures flashed in the darkness around them, rapidly retreating into the shadows. Something lurked in that abyss, something watching. Panic clawed at Eli as he stared into the inky blackness. "Keep your eyes peeled," he commanded, voice firm. "We need to know what's down here." The vessel shuddered violently. "Something's not right!" Malcolm screamed, his face ashen. "I see movement!" Hannah cried, pointing at the sensor readings. "Something massive is coming!" The lights flickered, plunging them into a moment of claustrophobic gloom. Eli steeled himself, determination hardening his resolve. "We're in this together," he reminded them, but the fear was palpable. In the depths, shadows twisted with a sentience that left Eli's breath hitching in his throat. Just then, a crash reverberated through the hull, sending them staggering. "What was that?" Malcolm shouted, his voice edged with panic. An ominous sound rose from the dark chasms surrounding them. Eli gritted his teeth, straining to keep his focus. "We need to move. Now." As they pressed deeper into the heart of Europa, the shadows coalesced, drawing closer. The vessel rocked again, this time more violently as the reality of their descent weighed down on them. And then, something surged forward from the darkness, a form unlike anything Eli had ever imagined, glistening and enormous. Eyes filled with ancient knowledge locked onto the crew. "Eli, look!" Hannah screamed. Eli's own eyes widened as he realized they had awakened a darkness buried beneath layers of ice. "We've unleashed something," he whispered, heart racing. As the entity moved, so did the darkness surrounding them. Eli's breath quickened. Whatever they had stirred was awakening, and the terror was just beginning. Eli Vance fought against the shuddering darkness, his heart pounding like a hammer. The glow of bioluminescent creatures dimmed as they descended deeper into the icy abyss. "Are you seeing this?" he asked, voice tight with urgency. Hannah glanced at her monitor, eyes wide. "Yeah, but what the hell are those structures? They stretch on forever." Her voice wavered, revealing just how unsettled she was. Malcolm's fingers danced over the controls, trying to steady their vessel amid the quaking. These could be their... what? Homes? War machines? "We shouldn't be here," he stammered, fear creeping back into his tone. "Just keep moving," Eli urged. "We need to figure out what awakened." But the certainty of his own words felt like a sheer lie, dissolving into the growing unease surrounding them. The structures loomed larger, towering monoliths seemingly crafted from an unknown alloy that bent light itself. As they approached, tendrils of something alive coiled around the beams and columns. "It's almost like they're breathing," Hannah murmured, horror mingling with fascination. Eli could feel the energy shift. "They must react to us. We have to be careful not to provoke them." The vessel shook violently again. Alarms blared, filling the chamber with a cacophony of warning. "Malcolm! Are we losing stability?" Eli shouted over the noise. "Trying to compensate," he yelled back, eyes glued to the readouts. "If we keep descending, we'll lose control." Hannah pressed a button frantically. "Look, the constructs are awakening. They're interfacing with the systems, but they don't recognize our tech." "Can they hear us? Understand us?" Eli felt a chill crawl up his spine. What if they respond? As though on cue, the massive structures pulsed, resonating with their own intoxicating energy. A series of sharp cracks shattered the frigid silence. Eli's stomach twisted at the realization. They were awakening to fear. "Get us out of here!" Hannah shouted, panic etching her features. Suddenly, the vessel bucked wildly. Through the viewport, Eli glimpsed a cloaked figure emerging from the darkness. It boarded their ship effortlessly, eyes glinting with an eerie intelligence. "Stop!" he barked, instinctively reaching for the console. "Who are you?" The figure spoke in a voice smooth yet dissonant, like music skewed by static. "I am Kira. I have come to warn you." Eli felt the air thicken. "Warn us about what?" "About the architects." Kira's gaze pierced through him. "They are not just constructs. They are alive, and they are angry." Malcolm's jaw dropped. "What do you mean? Angry? At us?" "They were gods to the beings that created them," Kira replied, the weight of her words hanging ominously in the confined space. "And that prison you stumbled upon? It is cracking. They will be free soon." Terror gripped Eli. "We need to..." A resounding crack shattered the moment. The vessel trembled violently, alarms blaring as the ice overhead began to fracture. "We're losing it!" Malcolm screamed. "Brace for impact!" Eli shouted, his heart racing as the walls shuddered violently around them. The last thing he saw was Kira, eyes filled with a haunting mix of dread and purpose. As everything fell into chaos, Eli realized they were not just facing the unknown beneath the ice. They were directly linked to the cataclysm about to erupt. The icy darkness roared around them as Eli Vance struggled to keep the vessel steady. Bioluminescent creatures flared and dimmed, guiding their descent into the abyss. "Hold it together, Malcolm!" Eli shouted, eyes fixed on the chaotic readouts flickering in front of him. I'm trying." Malcolm gritted his teeth, fingers slipping over controls. "Whatever these structures are, They're interfering with our systems. Hannah's voice broke through the noise. Eli, look at that! She pointed toward the viewport. Massive alien edifices towered ahead, ethereal and terrifying, shimmering as if alive. What are they? It doesn't matter, Eli replied. We need to focus, avoid provoking anything. Just keep. A convulsive shudder rocked the ship, and alarms blared. Stability loss! We're losing stability! Malcolm shouted, panic creeping into his voice. Get us out of here! Hannah yelled, eyes wide with fear. Eli! Suddenly, a dark figure swept into their midst. The atmosphere shifted, heavy with an otherworldly energy. Eli squinted through the dim light. Who are you? He demanded, panic clawing at his throat. The figure stepped forward, revealing a woman with an uncanny presence. I am Kira, she said, her voice smooth yet fragmented, like a melody caught in static. I have come to warn you. Warn us about what? Eli asked, dread pooling in his gut. The architects, Kira replied, her gaze penetrating. They are not merely machines. They are alive, and they will soon awaken. Awaken? Why us? Malcolm gasped, voice shaking. What do you mean? They were worshipped as gods by their creators. Kira turned, gesturing towards the towering structures. And that prison you found? It is breaking. Eli's heart raced. We need to warn Earth. Do you have any idea what they'll do? The walls rumbled ominously as Kira's gaze flickered to the viewport. You must understand. Anger drives them. You will bear the brunt of it. A loud crack echoed through the chamber, shivering the ship's frame. Alarms screamed louder, signaling impending doom. Brace for impact! Eli shouted, adrenaline surging through him. Just then, Kira's eyes widened, a mix of fear and determination. Listen to me. You must make a choice. Stand by the architects or resist them. But know that your actions will decide your fate and that of your descendants. Great! Like we have a choice now! Malcolm yelled, gripping the controls tighter. The dimensional reverberations intensified, and cracks spread across the ice overhead. Get us out of here, Eli! Hannah pleaded, fear etched across her features. Hold on, he shouted, forcing himself to focus through the escalating chaos. With every ounce of strength, he fought against the quaking craft. Suddenly, another deafening crack split the air, one that sent a shiver of ice cascading from above. Kira's voice turned grave. You must trust me. There's a way to contain them. But we need time. Time. The very essence slipping through his fingers. Eli's thoughts raced as he felt the weight of responsibility pressing down. They could become agents of something much worse, or heroes of resistance. Then, without warning, a new jolt slammed into their ship, tossing them like a leaf in a storm. Eli! Hannah screamed. Everything was chaos. Overhead, the ice splintered more violently than before, and those ancient screams echoed within his mind. Just as the vessel began to spiral, Kira locked eyes with Eli. You must tell them the truth. Then, the foundations beneath them groaned. The ship began to break apart, lights flickering in and out. No! Eli shouted, desperate to grasp the fading hope. The last thing he saw was Kira's determined face fading into shadow as everything imploded around them. Eli's scream was swallowed by the void. The vessel trembled violently, caught in the grip of a waking nightmare. Eli gripped the controls, his knuckles white. What the hell's happening? Malcolm's fingers danced over the console, sweat glistening on his brow. The structures are amplifying whatever's inside them. It's like they're communicating. Communicating? Hannah echoed, her voice laced with dread. With what? Who do you mean? Kira. Eli shot a glance at the dark corner of the cabin where the mysterious figure had stood. She had vanished, melting into the shadows like a specter. We need to find her. She knows something. As alarms blared louder, Eli's heart raced. He could feel the pulse of the vast ocean beneath them, thrumming like a living entity. Malcolm, stabilize us. Regain control. I'm trying, but it feels like the ship has a mind of its own, Malcolm snarled. I'm not losing this crew to whatever terror lies waiting below, Eli shouted. He could still hear Kira's warning ringing in his ears. This wasn't just about survival. It was about understanding the threat they faced. He pressed a button, activating the automatic stabilization program. The ship jerked but steadied just enough for Eli to focus. Their descent into the alien landscape had awakened something, and he needed answers. Before it was too late. Look at that. Hannah pointed out the viewport, where fluorescent shapes glided closer, illuminating the icy surroundings. They're watching us. Just keep your eyes on the systems, Hannah. We don't want to provoke anything, Eli commanded, though fear gnawed at him. The bioluminescent creatures swarmed the hull like a living wave, delicate tendrils brushing against the ship. They're beautiful, she whispered, a trace of wonder mixed with unease. Beautiful doesn't get us out of this mess, Malcolm snapped, frustration spilling over. Eli, whatever she's connected to, it's drawing nearer. Eli's pulse quickened, pounding in time with the shutters of their ship. We have to make contact with them, Malcolm. Kira's warning meant we have a choice in this. Contact? Are you insane? Malcolm retorted, his grip tightening. We might not even survive this. Better to act than to wait and let it swallow us, Eli replied, determination set in his voice. Just as his words hung in the charged air, an ominous crack echoed, reverberating through the ship. The viewport darkened. Shadows loomed large as pieces of the structures split away, revealing a vast depth beyond. Something's coming, Hannah shrieked, pulling away from the window. Hold on. Eli braced himself, knowing the slightest miscalculation could be disastrous. Then, as if the ocean itself had awoken, a powerful force surged. The ship lurched violently, spiraling into chaos. Panic erupted among the crew, their voices drowning in alarm as systems failed one by one. Hannah, grab that emergency protocol, Eli shouted, fighting for control. As she scrambled for the tool, metal groaned. Kira's voice suddenly pierced through the chaos, echoing as though she could see the impending threat. Your choice is yours to command, but if you choose this path, know that devastating consequence lies ahead. Get us out of here, Malcolm yelled, his face a mask of terror. I can't, Eli shouted back. We need to trust Kira's warning. We have to be prepared for what might come. Then, a deafening roar reverberated outside, drowning their words. The ice fractured overhead, showering debris upon them. The world spun, and Eli's thoughts raced. Eli! Hannah's voice trembled as she clutched his arm, her eyes wide with fear. We're not going to make it. Yes, we will. Just focus. Eli threw back, but a dark shadow eclipsed the flickering lights inside the cabin. Suddenly, Kira appeared again. You must choose now. Stand against them or bow down. Fate awaits. Then everything ripped apart. The ice above collapsed like a shattered mirror, plunging them into inky darkness. Eli's mind raced. Trust Kira and fight, or find safety beneath the surface? With their options evaporating, he made his choice. We're fighting! But as they tumbled deeper, the true horror emerged from the abyss, a maw of darkness and wrath. And in that instant, Eli knew they had unleashed something beyond their comprehension. The ship screamed as it spiraled, the shadows closing in. Eli's voice broke under the weight of terror. Brace yourselves! And in that moment, as the void threatened to consume them, the echo of despair cast its shadow across their souls. Every decision would resonate long after the dust settled. The ship shuddered violently, rattling the crew like dice in a cup. Eli, we're losing power! Malcolm shouted, his voice barely audible over the alarms blaring around them. Stay calm! Eli gripped the controls, teeth clenched, muscles straining against the surge of chaos. Secure all systems. We need to stabilize. Hannah's eyes darted between the flickering monitors and the ominous shadows outside. What if they break through? What if we can't? Stop! Focus! Eli snapped, his heart racing. The darkness loomed, closer with every second. The alien constructs were awakening, and the pressure was mounting. Malcolm's fingers slipped across the console. It's not just the power. Something's feeding off our energy, like it's drawing strength from us. Then let's give it something to chew on, Eli replied, gritting his teeth. Hannah, reroute auxiliary power to the shields. She nodded, but trepidation was etched across her face. If we do that, we're risking a full systems failure. We can't afford paralysis. Move! Eli barked, his mind racing. The ship shook again, and the viewport darkened as alien silhouettes began to swarm, drawn to their fear like moths to flame. What do they want? Hannah's voice trembled, laced with confusion and fear. I don't know, but we have to figure it out fast. Eli hollered, pushing back the rising tide of dread. The stakes were amplifying, and they needed to act. They could not let the darkness swallow them. Kira's voice echoed into the chaos, distorted yet clear. The architects are awakening. They can sense your fear. You must confront it. Confront it? Malcolm pressed his forehead against the controls. We're not equipped to fight these things. We don't have an option. Eli's patience frayed. I won't let anyone die because we hesitated. Another crack echoed, splitting the air. The ice above shattered, releasing torrents of dark water. Panic spread, and the ship began to spiral uncontrollably. Brace yourselves, Eli shouted. Just then, Kira materialized, her presence both unsettling and calming. You must make a choice. Trust what you've cultivated within you or perish. Eli felt a rush of defiance. I choose to fight. He slammed his hand on the console, activating the ship's defense protocols. Red lights flashed, and turrets extended, primed for combat. Prepare for what's coming, he warned, scanning the panorama of impending dread outside. The darkness loomed larger, a pulsating mass of tendrils and monstrous shapes. It roared, a sound that penetrated the depths of their souls, threatening to drown them in despair. An explosion rattled the ship, alarms screaming in protest. Systems failing. We're losing, Malcolm shouted, cut off as the console sparked and exploded. Hold on, Eli shouted as he fought to regain control amidst the chaos. Then it hit. a wave of alien darkness crashing against the ship's hull. They were torn from their grip, spiraling into an abyss of panic and noise. Eli felt a visceral terror grip him. "We need to regroup. Get back to the station." But the ship was convulsing, and their chances were diminishing. Suddenly, Kira's gaze locked onto Eli, eyes burning with urgency. "There's a way. We can channel the energy, but it requires faith. Do you trust yourselves?" "Enough!" Eli shouted, finally losing the last vestiges of calm. "Don't toy with us. Just tell us what to do." "Release your fear. Create together," Kira urged, her voice a haunting melody amidst the chaos. Then everything spun out of control. The ship careened, debris swirling outside, a maelstrom of potential destruction. With adrenaline surging, Eli screamed, "Now!" But chaos reigned as darkness consumed them. Voices faded, and the ship erupted in blinding light. Eli's thoughts cascaded into despair, the enormity of their plight punctuated by the black void outside. With one last breath, he felt the world slip away. In that moment of utter panic, he had to believe. And when silence engulfed them, he knew they were far from safe. The air crackled with an energy that felt alive, suffocating them in unease. "What have we done?" Eli whispered, the words escaping like a breath from a dying star. Malcolm peered out at the chaotic surface. Europa was no longer a frozen wasteland. It morphed into something alive, something terrifying. "Are we sure we even recognize it anymore?" Hannah, trembling, gripped the console to steady herself. "Look!" She gestured urgently. A human-like child floated above the monolith, glowing faintly, every pulse sending ripples through the treacherous landscape. Eli's heart raced. That's my DNA." His voice wavered, mingling horror with disbelief. "It can't be. Is it a trap?" Malcolm eyed the child with suspicion, uncertainty threading through his words. "They're trying to get us to trust it." Kira moved forward, her presence both comforting and chilling. "The child is the key to shutting it down. We have to reach the core. It's the only way to stop the architects." "Stop?" Eli shot back, unsettled by the tension simmering among them. "You expect us to just follow you blindly? We've seen what that leads to. We can't afford division now. We need to stick together." Hannah's voice broke, panic slipping through her composure like water through cracks. A tremor shook the ice beneath them, fissures racing toward the horizon. "We have no time." Kira's eyes glowed with urgency, merging human emotion with alien intent. "We descend now, or face annihilation." Malcolm hesitated. "What if we can't trust her? You said she was..." "The enemy?" Eli interjected sharply. "Or maybe we're the intruders in this equation. If Kira leads us to our fate, then so be it. I'm willing to take the risk." Kira's form flickered, an echo of her true self flashing through her guise. "It's more than trust. It's sacrifice. Can you accept that?" "That's the issue," Malcolm said, retreating into uncertainty. "We've sacrificed too much already." "Trust your instincts," Kira's voice rang with conviction. "Fear is the architect's weapon. Face it, forge your path." Eli's mind raced. "We're wasting precious time. We're losing control." "I won't let you drag us to our doom," Malcolm shot back, backing away from the console. His gaze flickered between Eli and Kira, doubt stirring in the depths of his soul. "Choose, Malcolm," Eli yelled, desperation bubbling. Do we fight together, or extinguish our hope by dissolving into this chaos? The ground roared beneath them, ice fracturing, threatening to swallow them whole. The child floated serenely, an oasis amidst the brewing storm of fears and doubts. "We are stronger united," she whispered, her small voice vibrant with hope. But will hope be enough? As Kira reached for the child, a jagged crack erupted beneath their feet. Ice splintered, and the world began to collapse. "Follow me if you want to live," Kira urged, darting toward the churning depths. Malcolm hesitated, caught between loyalty and survival. What if it's a trap? "Then we fight!" Eli barked, adrenaline surging. "Follow Kira, now before we're lost to this madness." In that moment, fear and courage collided, and they plunged through the ice, swallowed whole by the labyrinthine abyss. Plunging deeper, their surroundings transformed into a nightmarish landscape of shifting shadows. Behind them, the monolith glowed ominously, pulsating with a powerful rhythm. All at once, the ship's alarms blared, and a terrible realization hit. "Systems are failing!" Hannah screamed, grappling with the controls. "Fight it!" Eli shouted. "We will not let it take us." But as they descended deeper, the echo of betrayal lingered in the air. A figure watched from the shadows, someone they had thought lost to despair. With the darkness closing in, alliances shattered, and trust frayed like the ice above. Would they emerge united, or would they succumb to the architect's ancient grip? The ice crumbled overhead. Darkness surged, swallowing everything. The collapsing void whispered promises of dread as the ship plummeted into the unknown. The ice shattered under their feet like glass, and Eli's heart raced as he scrambled to keep his footing. "Grab something!" he cried, panic clawing at his throat. They were plummeting, the abyss yawning below them, an insatiable maw ready to consume everything. The flickering lights of the ship cast erratic shadows across Malcolm's grim face. "This was a mistake!" he shouted, fear edging his voice. "We shouldn't have gone deeper. What have we done?" Eli barely heard him, his thoughts consumed by the child, glowing with an otherworldly light, drifting eerily amid chaos. "You're our only chance," he murmured, the gravity of responsibility weighing heavy in his chest. If they failed this time... Kira led the charge down the churning passage. "Trust the child," she urged, her voice a beacon in the crescendo of despair. She glanced back, eyes ablaze with determination. "It's all we have left. Trust the key, or trust the architect of our doom." Malcolm muttered under his breath, bitter doubt twisting his features. "Stop!" Eli snapped, the words more a plea than a command. The crumbling ice was a drumroll to destruction, each heartbeat echoing their impending doom. "We need to be united! We're stronger together!" Hannah clung to the control console, fingers dancing over dying displays. "The systems are failing! If we don't get control!" A skull-rattling jolt sent them spiraling. The ship's hull creaked and groaned. Eli gripped the edge of the control panel, every thought consumed by a desperate wish to protect the child. "We can't let fear dominate us. We break the cycle or we perish." With a defiant roar, he surged forward, shoving past Malcolm's lingering doubt. Kira's eyes flashed, a storm brewing within her, half alien, half human, caught in a struggle they all felt. "Face them, Eli! You're the one they fear most!" Ice cracked, and a violent shockwave shot through the chamber. Eli was thrown against the wall, breath rattling in his lungs. He looked back at the child, now radiantly lit in a spectrum of colors that seemed to whisper ancient truths. I have to do this, Eli thought, his resolve hardening. She was part of him. He could not fail. But what lay ahead terrified him more than the abyss. Malcolm's voice was distant now, shadows closing in. This isn't right. Kira, what if we're just pawns? We will decide that together, Eli shouted, fury igniting his voice. But if we keep hesitating, we'll lose everything. Look around, this ice, the core, it's a reflection of us. They hurtled deeper into the creeping void, uncertainty swirling around them. The world outside was a riot of light and shadows as fissures of ice collapsed, transforming the landscape into a surreal tapestry. Suddenly, Kira halted, her eyes wide with a mixture of horror and clarity. We're being judged, she whispered, voice lost in the chaos. A bone-chilling sound echoed, something ancient stirring beneath the surface of reality. Eli steeled himself, realizing this was where the nightmare culminated. Stand firm, he commanded, feeling a surge of power embedded in human tenacity. Together, we can't be broken. But a dark whisper slipped into his mind. What if you fail? Memories of everything they'd sacrificed flooded him, shadows of the fallen haunting his thoughts. What if they were indeed pawns, tangled in a game they didn't comprehend? The ship shook violently, and the chill of the abyss drew closer. Above, the ice fractured, a cascade of despair falling behind them. He grasped the child tighter, feeling her warmth pulse against the encroaching cold. Then, an explosion of light erupted as they reached the core chamber, a swirling vortex of alien intellect emerging. Eli could hear their taunts, a maddening symphony of discordance as they probed for weaknesses, seeking to divide them amidst their fragile unity. We have to face this, Kira gasped, her voice trembling, her image flickering. It's time to confront the architects, for your humanity. Eli locked eyes with her, a silent understanding passing between them. Their truths were no longer individual. They were collective, intertwined. With the child cradled against him, he stepped forward, drawn to the alien nexus, feeling reality fracture like the ice above. A surge of unbridled energy washed over him. In that moment, Eli understood. This was his reckoning. He could either let the architects consume them or wield the storm of their fury like a weapon. The chamber shook, and darkness surged, but Eli couldn't turn back. Together, he breathed, hearts beating as one, as they plunged deeper into the unknown. The fate of humanity hung by a thread woven from hope, and just perhaps, from chaos. Silence enveloped the chamber, a stillness that felt thick enough to suffocate. Eli Vance found himself suspended in the aftermath of chaos, the weight of loss pressing unrelentingly against his chest. The blinding light had consumed everything, the storm of emotions, the chaos of existence, and now the echoes of the child's laughter that once danced between them. He lay on the cold surface, dimly aware of the rasping breaths that erupted from his lips like remnants of a forgotten dream. The chamber around him was a shattered ruin, light flickering like a dying star. Kira. Was she truly gone? The thought twisted in his gut, a culmination of grief and guilt intertwining, making it hard to breathe. Her boldness, her conviction, it all swirled around him, fading like a distant melody. Looking down, he saw the child nestled against him, alive but eerily still, her presence both a balm and a reminder of what they had lost. She was a fusion of human and architect, a testament to the impossible bond forged in desperation. Eli brushed his fingers against her luminous skin, sending shivers of warmth through him. "I'm sorry," he whispered, the sound barely forming as tears threatened to spill. "I should have protected you." As remnants of the cataclysm settled, memories began to unfurl in Eli's mind. Flashes of Kira's indomitable spirit, the way she had inspired him to dig deeper, to wrestle with their fate head-on. Her laughter echoed, resilient against the backdrop of despair. They had fought together, shared their fears and dreams, and sacrificed pieces of themselves in the battle against the architects. But at what cost? Malcolm's skeptical gaze pierced through the haze of his thoughts. What if this was all for nothing? The echo of his voice slid into his mind, a spooling doubt taking root. They were no mere pawns anymore. They were refugees of a shattered world, faced with a choice that hung heavily over them like a specter. "Together," he murmured, the promise of unity clinging to him like a lifeline. They had forged something incredible. Despite the chaos, despite the loss, an alliance born from vulnerability and raw emotion. And yet, the knowledge that Kira had sacrificed herself to keep the gate open gnawed at him, festering as he grappled with the guilt of survival. A low rumble coursed through the chamber, and Eli's eyes widened. Light shimmered at the edges of the core like a heartbeat, pulsing, alive. He could almost feel Kira's energy coursing through the remnants of the architect network, weaving threads of hope amidst despair. Perhaps in her final moments, she hadn't just opened a gate. She had ignited a spark. The child stirred, breaking him from his reverie. Her eyes fluttered, caught between innocence and an ancient wisdom beyond her years. The whisper of the architects echoed in the silence, a reminder that they were still watching, still waiting. Eli felt his heart race as he caught her gaze, a slow realization unfurling within him. You're connected, aren't you?" he breathed, an ember of a plan igniting in his mind. The child nodded softly, glow intensifying, bathing the chamber in blinding light. Heat washed over him as he remembered Kira's words. "You have to face them." A chance for redemption flickered in the depths of despair. But how? How could he harness the child's essence, her incredible potential, to confront the architects? Would it mean embracing the chaotic unpredictability of human emotion, something the architects could never truly grasp? Eli closed his eyes, letting his memories and fears intertwine in a chaotic dance. He could not let Kira's sacrifice be in vain. "We'll find a way," he declared, voice firm and resolute. "We'll face them together, as you and I, as one." With a surge of renewed purpose, he reached deep within himself, embracing the grief and hope, threading those raw emotions into a tapestry of determination. If they were to reclaim their lives and perhaps, just perhaps, reignite the human spirit against an encroaching darkness, they would do it side by side. As the glow of the child enveloped him, Eli stood on a precipice, a bridge between two worlds. The echoes of the past whispered their solemn truths, but the future glimmered with endless possibility. They would honor Kira's memory. He would ensure that they would not be defined by failure, but by resilience. Looking deep into the abyss of uncertainty, Eli forged ahead. The architects might think they held all the cards, but the unpredictability of the human spirit was a force they could never calculate. A force that could shatter the silence and light the path forward into the unknown. Silence engulfed the desolation of Europa, As Eli Vance emerged from the wreckage, each breath a reminder of fragility. Clutching the child, he felt a deluge of emotions swirling within him: relief, fear, sorrow, all flowing like memory-laden tides, crashing and receding. This was it. The aftermath of a battle fought in darkness amidst alien shadows. The pod's hatch had barely opened when the cold, sterile air of Earth enveloped him, the smell of burnt metal and charred circuits clinging to his skin. He was alive. They were alive. Yet the weight of Kira's sacrifice, and the ghosts of those lost in the abyss, pressed heavily on his chest. Glancing down, Eli caught the child's gaze. Her eyes, glowing with starlight, reflected ancient wisdom and an unyielding innocence. "Where are we?" Her voice was soft yet resonated, a melody that cut through the rubble of despair, a spark igniting hope. "Home," he murmured, yet the world felt irrevocably changed. Earth appeared scarred but intact, a testament to resilience. The alien fleet, their impending doom, had vanished into the depths of space, but Eli understood the battle was far from over. The haunted stillness settled, whispering of something foreboding. "Listen closely," Eli whispered, knelt on the debris-strewn ground. "They left, but they are not gone." The realization struck him as the child tilted her head, absorbing his words as if it were woven into the very fabric of her being. He felt the tendrils of connection pulse between them. She was more than a hybrid. She was their bridge, the embodiment of humanity's chaotic spirit, an enigma the architects could never understand. Eli felt primal energy swell within him. The lost memory of fear transformed into something magnificent, ignited by the promise of redemption. The wound of Kira's absence ached, yet it propelled him forward. "Together," he affirmed, voice steady, igniting the embers of a plan. "We will face them. We'll let them hear our chaos, our resilience. Perhaps, just perhaps, our unpredictability can turn the tide." The child's eyes sparkled like constellations in an ink-black sky, reflecting the weighty truths of her existence. He reached out, intertwining their fingers as luminous threads of light flickered between them. A bond, transcendent and fierce, formed amid the desolation. "We'll reclaim our future. We'll bridge our worlds. And they will listen." Eli's heart raced, the realization of their shared destiny enveloping them. The child's potential seethed with possibility, her bones forged from humanity's fire, and her spirit intertwined with the dreaded architects. The vision pulsed through him, not just an act of defiance, but a symphony of resilience. As the sun began to rise over a battered earth, Eli knew they would craft a new destiny, a world redefined through connection. The architects would hear their song, laden with grief and joy, every note forged from human emotion. The darkness above retreated, but he understood its insidious nature. A turning tide was approaching. And so, as he stepped into the light with the child by his side, the whispers of the cosmos beckoned, reminding him ever so softly, they are not merely watching, they are waiting. With a final glance to the horizon, Eli whispered, "We will not be defined by your shadows." In that moment, anything felt possible. Stars aligned within the child's gaze. Their future sparkled with infinite potential, a new dawn birthed from twilight's embrace. Together, they would ignite the universe, forging a bond that transcended the boundaries of nightmares, soaring into the void of uncertainty hand in hand. Tomorrow, they would face the architects, and perhaps, just perhaps, make them understand what it meant to be truly alive.